The Valorian homeworld was beautiful in ways that human words could not describe. Twin suns painted the sky in shades of gold and purple. Towers of white crystal rose from the ground like frozen flames. Rivers of light flowed through the city, carrying small boats filled with beings who had traveled between stars when humans still lived in caves. Kang Dae-ho stood at the window of the human embassy ship and watched it all with quiet wonder. He was not an important man. He was just an engineer who fixed communication systems and made sure the translation devices worked properly. But today, he was part of something historic. Humanity's first diplomatic mission to the Valorian Empire. "Stop staring like a child," said Ambassador Yuna as she walked past him. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and an even sharper tongue. "We need to look professional. The Valorians already think we are primitive." "Sorry, Ambassador," Dae-ho said. He stepped back from the window but could not stop himself from glancing outside one more time. The Valorians were an ancient species. They had ruled this part of the galaxy for 10,000 years. Their technology was advanced beyond human understanding. Their culture was built on honor, tradition, and bloodlines that stretched back to the birth of their first son. To them, humans were newcomers, children who had just learned to walk among the stars. The diplomatic team gathered in the main hall of the embassy ship. There were 12 humans in total: politicians, translators, cultural advisors, and Dae-ho. He stood at the back, trying to be invisible. This was not his world. He was here only because someone needed to maintain the equipment. "Remember," Ambassador Yuna said to the group, "we are guests here. The Valorians did not invite us because they like us. They invited us because they are curious. We must show them that humanity deserves respect." The team nodded. They had trained for this moment for years. Everything had to be perfect. The Valorian palace was even more impressive than the city around it. It floated above the ground on pillars of pure energy. Gardens filled with alien flowers surrounded it like a colorful ocean. Guards in silver armor stood at every entrance, their faces hidden behind masks that showed no emotion. Dae-ho followed the group through the massive doors. Inside, the palace was cool and quiet. The walls were made of something that looked like glass but felt alive when he accidentally touched it. Soft music played from somewhere, though he could not see any instruments. The throne room was at the heart of the palace. It was a circular chamber with a domed ceiling that showed the stars above. In the center, on a throne carved from a single black crystal, sat Queen Sore. She was tall and elegant, with skin the color of pale silver and eyes that glowed like blue flames. Her hair flowed down her back like liquid metal. She wore a crown of floating lights that circled her head slowly. When she looked at the human delegation, her expression showed nothing. Not welcome, not hostility, just cold, careful observation. "Humans," she said. Her voice was soft but carried through the entire room. "You have traveled far to stand before us. Speak your purpose." Ambassador Yuna stepped forward and bowed deeply. "Great Queen of the Valorian Empire, we come in peace. Humanity wishes to build a bridge between our peoples. We offer friendship, trade, and the sharing of knowledge." The Queen studied her for a long moment. "Many species have stood where you stand now. Many have made similar promises. Few have kept them." She paused. "But we will listen. You may stay for the duration of the summit. Prove that humans are worthy of our attention." It was not a warm welcome, but it was not a rejection either. Ambassador Yuna thanked the Queen and led the delegation out of the throne room. Dae-ho was the last to leave. As he turned to go, he felt something, a strange sensation, like someone was watching him. He looked up at the balconies that lined the upper walls of the throne room. Most were empty, but on one balcony, half hidden behind a curtain, he saw a face. Young, curious, with the same silver skin as the queen, but with eyes that held warmth instead of ice. Princess Leon. Daeho had read about her in the briefing documents. The only child of Queen Saray, heir to the entire Valorian Empire. She was forbidden from interacting with outsiders without permission. Yet here she was, watching the humans with obvious fascination. Their eyes met. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then, without thinking, Daeho did something that surprised even himself. He bowed. Not the formal bow of a diplomat, but a simple, friendly gesture, the kind he might give to a neighbor back on Earth. The princess's eyes widened. Then, slowly, she smiled. It was a small smile, quickly hidden, but it was real. A guard appeared beside her and whispered something urgent. The princess nodded and disappeared behind the curtain. The balcony was empty again, as if she had never been there. Daeho continued walking, his heart beating a little faster. He did not know why he had bowed. It was probably inappropriate. Ambassador Yuna would be angry if she found out. But something about the princess had seemed lonely, like a bird in a golden cage. That night, the human delegation was given quarters in a guest wing of the palace. The rooms were luxurious but felt cold. Daeho could not sleep. He walked to the window and looked out at the alien city below. Somewhere in the darkness, he noticed movement, shadows that did not belong, figures dressed in black, moving along the outer walls of the palace. They stopped beneath a specific balcony and seemed to communicate with hand signals. Daeho frowned. The figures moved with purpose, with training. This was not normal behavior for palace staff. Something about them felt wrong. He thought about reporting it. But report what? Shadows in the night? He was an engineer, not a security expert. The Valorian guards surely knew their own palace better than he did. He watched until the figures disappeared. Then he returned to his bed, but sleep did not come easily. His mind kept returning to two things: the lonely smile of a princess, and the shadows that gathered beneath her window like hungry wolves waiting for their moment to strike. He did not know it yet, but his life was about to change forever. In 2 days, he would make a choice that would shake the foundations of an empire. A choice made in a single heartbeat. A choice that would prove to the galaxy what humans were truly made of. But for now, he was just Kang Daeho, a simple engineer, a man who fixed broken things. Soon, he would try to fix something that could not be repaired with tools. 2 days passed slowly. The diplomatic summit continued with meetings, ceremonies, and formal dinners. The Valorians remained polite but distant. They listened to human proposals with expressions that revealed nothing. Progress was being made, but it felt like trying to melt ice with a candle. Daeho spent most of his time in the communication room, maintaining equipment and staying out of the way. He had not seen the princess again since that first day, but he had not forgotten her smile, or the shadows he had seen moving in the darkness. On the third night, the queen hosted a grand celebration in the royal gardens. It was meant to honor the peace talks. Thousands of lights floated in the air like captured stars. Music filled the space with sounds that seemed to touch the soul. Delegates from a dozen species mingled among the flowers, talking and laughing. Daeho stood near the edge of the crowd, holding a drink he had not tasted. He did not belong at parties like this. He was more comfortable with machines than with people. Ambassador Yuna had told him to attend, to show human presence, but he felt invisible among the elegant aliens. He wandered away from the main gathering, following a stone path that led to a quieter section of the garden. Here, the lights were fewer. The music was distant. He found a small clearing with a fountain at its center. The water glowed softly, changing colors as it fell. He was about to sit down when he heard footsteps behind him. You are the human who bowed to me. Deho turned quickly. Princess Lian stood at the entrance of the clearing. She was dressed in flowing silver robes that seemed to move on their own. Her blue eyes studied him with open curiosity. "Your Highness," Deho said, bowing again. "I apologize if I was disrespectful before. I did not mean to cause any trouble." "Trouble?" The princess tilted her head. "No one has ever bowed to me like that. Formal bows, yes. Hundreds of them. But yours was different. It was—" She searched for the word. "Friendly." Deho did not know what to say. He had never spoken to royalty before. Back on Earth, he was nobody special. Here, one wrong word could destroy years of diplomatic work. "Why did you do it?" Lian asked. She stepped closer, her curiosity overcoming her caution. "You did not have to. I was hiding. You could have pretended not to see me." Deho thought about it. "You looked lonely," he said honestly. "Standing up there, watching everyone but not being able to join. I know that feeling. I thought a simple hello might help." The princess stared at him. Then she laughed. It was a bright, surprised sound. "No one has ever called me lonely. I am the heir to an empire. I have servants, guards, tutors. Thousands of people serve me." "That is not the same as having friends," Deho said quietly. The laughter faded from Lian's face. For a moment, she looked very young, very alone. "No," she admitted. "It is not." They stood in comfortable silence. The fountain sang its gentle song. The lights drifted overhead like lazy fireflies. "Tell me about Earth," Lian said suddenly. "What is it like? I have read about it, but books are not the same as stories from someone who has lived there." Deho smiled. "Earth is not as beautiful as your world. We have only one sun. Our technology is not as advanced. But we have oceans that stretch forever, mountains that touch the clouds, forests so thick that sunlight cannot reach the ground." "It sounds wonderful," Lian said softly. "It is home," Deho replied. "That makes it wonderful." They talked for several minutes. Deho told her about Korean food, about snow in winter, about the way the moon looked over the Han River at night. Lian listened with fascination, asking questions about things he had always taken for granted. He forgot that she was a princess. She forgot that he was supposed to be inferior. For a few precious moments, they were just two people sharing stories under alien stars. Then everything changed. Deho saw movement in the shadows behind Lian. His engineer's brain processed the information in a fraction of a second. 3 figures, black clothing, weapons raised. They had appeared from nowhere, silent as ghosts. Time seemed to slow down. He saw the lead assassin aim at the princess's back. He saw the weapon begin to glow with deadly energy. He saw Lian's innocent smile, unaware of the death that approached. And Deho moved. He did not think. There was no time for thought. He simply acted on an instinct older than civilization. The instinct to protect. He grabbed the princess and spun her around, placing his body between her and the attackers. The plasma bolt hit him square in the back. Pain exploded through his body like fire. He heard himself scream but could not stop moving. He pushed Lian down, covering her with his own body as 2 more shots flew overhead. "Stay down!" he gasped. Blood filled his mouth. His vision was turning black at the edges. Alarms began to wail. The royal guards finally arrived, silver armor flashing as they engaged the assassins. Energy weapons fired, bodies fell. The battle lasted only seconds. When it was over, 3 assassins lay dead on the ground, and Kang Deho lay in a pool of his own blood, barely breathing. Princess Lian crawled out from beneath him. Her silver robes were stained red. Her hands shook as she touched his face. "Human," she whispered. Tears streamed down her cheeks. "Human, wake up. Please wake up." Deho's eyes flickered open. He saw her face above him. beautiful and terrified. He tried to smile. "Are you hurt?" he managed to ask. "Me?" Leon's voice broke. "You are dying and you ask about me?" "Had to protect." Deho's eyes closed. His body went limp. The guards rushed forward. Orders were shouted. Medical teams arrived. The princess refused to let go of the human's hand, even as they carried him away. In the chaos, no one noticed the small device one of the dead assassins wore. A device with the royal seal of the Valorian Empire. The attack had not come from outside enemies. The danger was inside the palace itself, and the human who had uncovered it, who had saved the princess with his own body, might never wake up to tell anyone what he had seen. The celebration was over. The music had stopped, and somewhere in the medical wing of the palace, doctors fought to save a life that should already have been lost. They did not understand how he was still alive. No being should have survived such wounds. But humans, they would soon learn, were very hard to kill. Queen Sarai had ruled the Valorian Empire for 300 years. She had survived wars, betrayals, and challenges that would have destroyed lesser beings. She had watched empires rise and fall. She had buried her husband and raised her daughter alone. Nothing surprised her anymore. Until tonight. She stood in the medical center, watching through a glass wall as doctors worked on the human. Their instruments hummed with energy. Healing lights moved across his broken body. The damage was severe. The plasma bolt had torn through muscle and bone. It had burned organs that the doctors barely understood. Yet he lived. "This is impossible," the chief medical officer said. He was an old Valorian with centuries of experience. "The wound should have killed him instantly. His species has no natural defenses against plasma weapons. But his body is fighting, healing. It is slow and inefficient, but it is happening." Queen Sore said nothing. Her eyes remained fixed on the human's face. He was young by her standards, plain-looking. There was nothing remarkable about him, yet he had done something that her own guards had failed to do. He had saved her daughter. The doors behind her burst open. Princess Lion ran into the room, still wearing her blood-stained robes. Guards tried to stop her, but she pushed past them. "Mother!" she cried. "Is he alive? Tell me he is alive!" The queen turned to face her daughter. She had never seen Lian like this. The princess was always calm, always composed. Now her face was wet with tears. Her hands trembled. Her eyes held a desperate light. "He lives," Sorai said quietly. "For now." Lian pressed her hands against the glass, staring at the human on the table. "He saved me. He did not even know me, but he saved me. He put his body between me and death." Her voice cracked. "Why would he do that?" The queen had no answer. She had asked herself the same question. Behind them, High Commander Bacon entered the room. He was a massive Valorian with a scarred face and cold eyes. He led the royal guard and had served the crown for over a century. "Your Majesty," he said, bowing stiffly, "we have identified the assassins. They were professionals, hired killers from the outer systems." "How did they enter the palace?" Sarai's voice was ice. Bacon hesitated. "We are still investigating. There may have been inside help." "Inside help!" The queen's eyes flashed with dangerous light. "Someone within my own palace tried to murder my daughter?" "It appears so, Your Majesty." Sarai was silent for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was terrifyingly calm. "Find them. Find everyone involved. I do not care how long it takes or what methods you use. Anyone who threatened my child will wish they had never been born." Bacon bowed again and left quickly. He knew that voice. It was the voice the queen used before she destroyed things. Hours passed. The doctors continued their work. Princess Lian refused to leave, so a chair was brought for her. She sat beside the glass wall, watching, waiting, praying to gods she barely believed in. Queen Soray stayed as well. She told herself it was because she needed to understand this human, to know why he had acted as he did. But part of her, a part she would not admit, simply wanted to be near her daughter. Near dawn, the chief medical officer approached them. "Your Majesty, Princess," he said, his voice tired but relieved. "The human will survive. His body has stabilized. We have repaired the worst of the damage, but he will need weeks to fully heal." Lian closed her eyes. Tears of relief slid down her cheeks. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you." The Queen nodded slowly. "When will he wake?" "Unknown. His species requires something called sleep to heal. It may be days before he regains consciousness." Soraya turned to her daughter. "You should rest. You have been here all night." "I am not leaving him," Lian said firmly. "Lion, he did not leave me, mother." The princess's voice was steady now. "When death came, he did not hesitate. He did not think about himself. He just protected me, a stranger, an alien, someone who is supposed to be beneath him according to half the galaxy." She looked at the human through the glass. "The least I can do is be here when he wakes." Queen Soray studied her daughter. She saw something new in Lian's eyes, a strength that had not been there before, a determination. "Very well," she said finally. "But you will eat. You will rest in the chair if you must. I will not have you making yourself sick over a human." Lian nodded. "Yes, mother." The Queen left the medical center as the first light of morning touched the sky. Her guards fell into step behind her. Her advisor, Counselor Taryn, appeared at her side. "Your Majesty," he said carefully, "the other delegations are asking questions. The attack has caused great concern. Several species are threatening to leave the summit." "Let them leave," Soray said. "I have more important matters to consider." Taryn hesitated. "The human delegation has also requested information. They want to know the condition of their engineer." Engineer. The word stuck in Soray's mind. Not a soldier, not a guard, not even a diplomat. Just an engineer, a man who fixed machines, and he had done what warriors could not. "Tell them he will live," she said. "Tell them he is under my personal protection." "Your Majesty?" Taryn looked surprised. "That human saved the heir to my throne." Soray stopped walking and turned to face him. "He is now the most important person in this palace besides my daughter. Anyone who threatens him, insults him, or causes him discomfort will answer to me personally. Am I clear?" Taryn bowed deeply. "Perfectly clear, Your Majesty." The Queen continued to her chambers, but at the door she paused. "Taryn, send someone to learn everything about this human, his history, his family, his dreams, everything." "May I ask why, Your Majesty?" Queen Soray did not answer immediately. She thought about the look in her daughter's eyes. She thought about the human lying in the medical center, broken but alive. She thought about what it meant when a stranger gave his life for someone he had just met. "Because," she said finally, "I believe I have misjudged humanity, and I do not enjoy being wrong." She entered her chambers and closed the door, but sleep did not come. Instead, she stood at her window and watched the suns rise over her empire. Somewhere below, a human fought to survive, and her daughter watched over him like a guardian angel. For the first time in centuries, Queen Soray did not know what the future held, and that uncertainty, strange as it was, did not feel entirely unwelcome. Change was coming. She could feel it in her ancient bones. The only question was whether she would control it or whether it would control her. Deho opened his eyes to a ceiling of pure white crystal. For a moment, he thought he was dead. Then the pain reminded him that he was very much alive. Every breath hurt. Every small movement sent fire through his body. But he could breathe, he could move, he could think. That was more than he had expected. "You are awake." He turned his head slowly. Princess Lian sat in a chair beside his bed. She looked tired. Dark circles shadowed her eyes, but when she saw him move, her face lit up with relief. "Your Highness," Deho tried to say, but his voice came out as a croak. Lian quickly poured water into a small cup and helped him drink. The cool liquid soothed his burning throat. "Do not try to speak yet," she said gently. "You have been unconscious for 4 days. Your body needs time to recover." 4 days. Deho closed his eyes. He remembered the garden, the conversation, the shadows appearing behind the princess. And then pain. Endless burning pain. "The assassins," he managed to whisper. "Dead. All 3 of them." Lian's expression darkened. "The guards killed them before they could hurt anyone else, because of you." She reached out and touched his hand. Her skin was cool and smooth. "You saved my life." Deho did not know what to say. He had not thought about it. He had just acted. Protecting her had seemed like the only possible choice. "I would do it again," he said quietly. Lian stared at him. Her blue eyes were bright with unshed tears. "I know you would. That is what makes you remarkable." Over the next few days, Deho slowly recovered. The Valorian medicine was incredible. Wounds that would have taken months to heal on Earth closed within days. Damaged organs rebuilt themselves. Pain faded to a dull ache that was almost bearable. Princess Lian visited every day. Sometimes they talked about Earth. Sometimes about the Valorian Empire. Sometimes they sat in comfortable silence, 2 strangers who had become connected by a single moment of violence. Ambassador Yuna also visited. She was relieved that he was alive, but Deho could see the worry in her eyes. "You have become a political problem," she told him honestly. "A human saving the Valorian princess. It changes things. The queen has been difficult to read." "Am I in trouble?" Deho asked. Yuna shook her head. "No, the opposite, actually. You are a hero. But being a hero in politics is complicated. The Queen has requested a formal audience with you once you are recovered. I do not know what she wants." 1 week after the attack, Deho was strong enough to stand. Servants brought him fine clothes in the Valorian style. They were uncomfortable, but he wore them without complaint. He was about to meet a queen, after all. The throne room looked different in daylight. Sunlight poured through the crystal dome, filling the space with golden warmth. Courtiers lined the walls, watching with curious eyes. At the center, Queen Sorai sat on her throne. Beside her stood Princess Lian. Deho walked slowly, still weak but determined. Ambassador Yuna walked beside him. When they reached the base of the throne, both humans bowed deeply. "Rise," Queen Sorai said. Her voice echoed through the chamber. Deho straightened and looked at the queen for the first time since the night of the celebration. She studied him with those glowing blue eyes, searching for something he could not identify. "Kang Deho," she said, "human engineer. You saved the life of my daughter, heir to the Valorian Empire. You placed your body between her and death without hesitation. In doing so, you nearly gave your own life," the courtiers murmured. Such praise from the queen was rare. "Your actions have not gone unnoticed," Sorai continued. "Today, before my court and all who witness, I name you Guardian of the Crown. This is the highest honor a non-Valorian has ever received. You will be granted quarters in the palace, servants to attend you, all the rights and privileges of Valorian nobility." Deho bowed again. "Your Majesty is too kind. I only did what anyone would do." "No," the Queen's voice was sharp. "You did what no one else did. Not my guards, not my advisors, not a single member of my court, a human, a stranger. You alone protected my child." She paused. "Which is why I cannot let you leave." The room went silent. Ambassador Yuna stepped forward. "Your Majesty, I do not understand. Daiho is a member of the human delegation. Our mission ends in 3 days. We will be returning to Earth." "He will not be returning with you," Sarai said calmly. Yuna's face paled. "Your Majesty, with respect, you cannot simply keep one of our citizens. This is not how diplomacy works." "I invoke the law of blood debt." The Queen's words fell like stones into still water. "An ancient Valorian tradition. When one saves the life of royal blood, they are bound to the crown until the debt is considered repaid. It is our oldest law. It cannot be broken." Daiho felt the floor shift beneath him. "Your Majesty, I have family on Earth. My mother waits for me. I cannot—" "I am sorry." And strangely, Sarai did sound sorry. "But my daughter's life is worth more than your convenience. You will remain here. You will be treated with honor and respect. But you will not leave this world until I decide the debt is paid." Princess Lien looked troubled. She whispered something to her mother, but the Queen shook her head firmly. Ambassador Yuna tried to argue. She spoke of treaties, of human rights, of diplomatic consequences, but the Queen was unmoved. The law of blood debt was sacred. No treaty could override it. In the end, there was nothing anyone could do. The human delegation left 3 days later, but Daiho was not with them. He stood on a balcony and watched their ship rise into the sky, carrying his friends away from him. Princess Lien found him there, staring at the empty sky. "I am sorry," she said softly. "I tried to convince her, but my mother is stubborn." "It is not your fault," Daiho replied. His voice was hollow. "I will make sure you are comfortable. Anything you need, just ask. I owe you that much." Lion hesitated. "I owe you more than that. I owe you everything." Daiho turned to look at her. She was beautiful, kind, innocent in ways that made his heart ache. He had saved her life without thinking. He did not regret it. But now he was trapped in a golden cage, surrounded by luxury he did not want. His mother was millions of miles away, probably crying every night, not knowing if he was alive or dead. He was a guardian of the crown, a hero, a prisoner, and he did not know how long his sentence would last. "Your Highness," he said quietly, "please call me Daiho. If I am going to live here, I would like to have at least one friend." Lien smiled sadly. "Then you must call me Lien, and I promise you, Daiho, I will find a way to repay my debt to you. One day, you will go home." He nodded, wanting to believe her. But as the sun set over the alien world, painting the sky in colors he did not recognize, Daiho wondered if he would ever see Earth again. He had saved a princess. Now he had to survive the consequences. Daiho learned to live among aliens. It was not easy. The Valorians moved differently, spoke differently, thought differently. Their customs were strange and often confusing. He made mistakes daily. He accidentally insulted a minor noble by using the wrong gesture. He ate food that was not meant for his species and spent 2 days sick in bed. But slowly, he adapted. Humans were good at that. His quarters were beautiful. A large room with windows that overlooked the city. A bed softer than clouds. Servants who attended to his every need. He had access to the royal libraries, the gardens, the training grounds. He could go almost anywhere in the palace, except home. Princess Lien visited him every day. At first, their conversations were awkward. The gap between their worlds seemed impossible to cross, but Lien was curious, and Daiho was patient. Day by day, they built a bridge with words. He told her about Earth, about the taste of his mother's cooking, about walking through the streets of Seoul at night, surrounded by lights and sounds and life, about swimming in the ocean as a child, feeling the waves carry him gently. "Do you miss it?" Lian asked one afternoon. They sat in the garden where she had almost died. Neither of them mentioned that. The flowers had grown over the scars in the ground. "Every day," Daeho admitted, "but missing it does not help. So I try to find good things here instead." "Have you found any?" He looked at her. "A few." Lion smiled. It was a real smile now, not the polite mask she wore in court. Over the months, Daeho had learned to tell the difference. "Tell me more about human families," she said. "On Earth, do children stay close to their parents?" Daeho thought about it. "It depends. Some families are very close. They eat together, celebrate holidays together, support each other through hard times. Other families are distant. They live far apart and rarely speak." He paused. "My family was close. After my father died, it was just my mother and me. We only had each other." "She must be worried about you." "Ambassador Yuna sends her messages through diplomatic channels. She knows I am alive. But knowing and being together are not the same thing." Lian was quiet for a long moment. Then she said something that surprised him. "I have never had anyone close like that. My father died when I was young. My mother loves me, but she is the queen first and my mother second. Duty always comes before affection in our culture." She pulled at a blade of strange grass. "Sometimes I wonder what it feels like. To be loved simply because you exist, not because of what you represent." Daeho did not know what to say, so he said the truth. "I think you are loved, Lian. Your mother kept me here partly because she could not bear the thought of losing you. That is love, even if it does not look the way you expect." The princess looked at him with those glowing eyes. "You see things clearly, Daeho. It is a strange gift." From a balcony above, Queen Sorey watched them. She had been watching for weeks, observing how the human interacted with her daughter, listening to their conversations through hidden devices. Counselor Terran stood beside her. "They grow closer each day, Your Majesty. Some in the court are beginning to talk." "Let them talk," Sorey said. "Words are wind." "Forgive me, but is this wise? Allowing the princess to spend so much time with a human? The other noble houses may see it as inappropriate." The queen did not answer immediately. She watched Daeho point at the sky and say something that made Lian laugh. It was a sound she had not heard in years, her daughter laughing freely. "Do you know what I see when I look at that human?" Sorey said finally. "A political complication?" Terran offered. "No, I see someone who asks nothing for himself. He saved my daughter's life, and he has never once tried to use it for gain. He does not ask for power, wealth, or influence. He sits in gardens and tells stories about oceans. He makes my daughter smile." The queen's voice softened. "In 300 years, I have met thousands of beings who wanted something from me. He is the first who seems to want nothing at all." Terran considered this. "Perhaps that is because he already has what he truly wants." "And what is that?" "Friendship, Your Majesty. A simple human desire." Queen Sorey said nothing, but she continued to watch as her daughter and the human walked through the garden together, talking about worlds neither of them might ever fully understand. That night, Daeho could not sleep. He stood at his window, looking at the stars. Somewhere out there, past countless systems and light years of empty space, was Earth, was home. He thought about his mother. Was she sleeping now? Was she looking at the same stars, wondering where her son was? He had sent her messages, but messages were cold things. They could not hold the warmth of a hug or the comfort of presence. A knock came at his door. "Come in," he said, expecting a servant. Instead, Queen Sorey entered his room. Daeho immediately bowed. "Your Majesty, I was not expecting— Rise. She walked to the window and stood beside him. You cannot sleep either. No, Your Majesty. They stood in silence, both looking at the stars. The Queen seemed different tonight. Less regal, more tired. I received a report today, she said, about your mother on Earth. Daeho's heart stopped. Is she well? She is alive, healthy, but she cries often. She asked the human government to negotiate for your release. They tried. I refused. The Queen paused. I wonder if she hates me. She does not know you, Daeho said carefully. She only knows that her son is gone. And do you hate me? The question hung in the air. Daeho thought about it seriously. No, he said finally. I understand why you did what you did. If someone saved my child, I would want to keep them close too. Gratitude and selfishness often look the same. Queen Sarai turned to look at him. You speak honestly, even to a queen. Would you prefer I lie? No, I have enough people who lie to me. She was quiet for a moment. My daughter cares for you. I have never seen her so happy. You have given her something I could not give with all my power and wealth. I have only given her my time, Daeho said. Time is the most valuable gift anyone can give. The Queen moved toward the door. I came here to tell you something. I have not decided when your debt will be paid. But I am beginning to understand that keeping you here might cause more harm than good, not to my empire, but to you, to your mother, perhaps even to my daughter. Your Majesty? Sarai stopped at the door. I am not a kind ruler, Daeho. I am a necessary one. But even necessary rulers can sometimes be moved. She looked back at him. Continue being who you are. That is the only advice I can give you. Then she was gone. Daeho stood alone in the starlight, his heart beating strangely. For the first time since his captivity began, he felt a flicker of hope. It was small, fragile, easily crushed, but it was there. And sometimes hope, even the smallest kind, was enough to survive another day. Daeho noticed it first in small ways. Guards who stood in different positions than usual, servants who avoided certain hallways, whispered conversations that stopped when he approached. Most people would not have seen these things. But Daeho was an engineer. He was trained to notice when systems did not work properly, and the palace was a system, a complex, living system of people and power. He began watching more carefully. During his walks through the palace, he paid attention to which officials met in secret. He noted which guards spoke quietly with which nobles. He remembered faces and names and patterns. After 2 weeks, a picture began to form. The assassination attempt 3 months ago had not been an isolated incident. Someone inside the palace was still plotting against the royal family. The threat had not ended. It had only hidden itself better. Daeho knew he should report his suspicions to the Queen, but what evidence did he have? Strange feelings, suspicious glances. Queen Sarai was an ancient ruler who had survived centuries of intrigue. She would not act on the worries of a human engineer. He needed proof. His engineering skills proved useful in unexpected ways. The palace communication systems were advanced, but they were still systems. Daeho spent nights studying their patterns, learning how information flowed through the building. Slowly, he found ways to access security records that should have been beyond his reach. What he discovered made his blood run cold. Lieutenant Heron, the second in command of the Royal Guard, he had been exchanging encrypted messages with contacts outside the Empire. The messages spoke of a second attempt, a better plan, one that would not fail. The target was not just the princess this time. They wanted the Queen as well. Daeho sat in his room, staring at the evidence on his screen. His hands were shaking. This was real. This was happening. And it was happening soon. He had to tell someone. but who could he trust? For all he knew, others in the palace were involved. Going to the wrong person could alert the conspirators, could get him killed, could doom the royal family. There was only one person he trusted completely. He found Princess Lian in her private garden. She was reading a book about Earth, one he had recommended to her. When she saw his face, she immediately set it aside. "Daeho, what is wrong?" He told her everything, the suspicions, the investigation, the evidence of Lieutenant Harren's betrayal. As he spoke, Lian's face grew pale. "This is treason of the highest order," she said quietly. "If what you say is true, we are all in danger. We need to tell your mother, but I do not know who else might be involved. If we go through the wrong channels, I understand." Lian stood, her expression hardening. "We will go to her directly, now, through the private passages that only the royal family knows." They moved quickly. Lian led him through hidden doors and secret corridors that wound through the palace like veins through a body. Daeho had not even known these passages existed. They were halfway to the Queen's chambers when they heard footsteps behind them. "Stop right there!" Daeho turned. Lieutenant Harren stood in the corridor, flanked by 4 guards. His weapon was drawn and pointed directly at them. "I wondered who had been accessing the security records," Harren said calmly. "I should have known it was the human. Your species is more clever than we give you credit for." "Lieutenant, you do not have to do this," Lian said. Her voice was steady despite her fear. "Surrender now, and my mother may show mercy." Harren laughed. "Mercy? The Queen has ruled too long. She has become weak. The Empire needs new leadership, strong leadership, and your death will pave the way." He raised his weapon. "I had hoped to kill you both at the ceremony tomorrow, a grand statement, but this will have to do." Daeho stepped in front of Lian. Again, just like in the garden. His body moved before his mind could object. "You will have to go through me first," he said. Harren smiled. "Gladly." He fired. But Daeho was already moving. He grabbed a decorative panel from the wall and held it up as a shield. The plasma bolt scorched through the metal but lost enough energy to only graze his arm instead of killing him. Pain exploded through his shoulder. But pain was an old friend now. Daeho threw the burning panel at the nearest guard and charged forward. He was not a soldier. He had never been trained to fight. But humans had something that most species did not understand. They were unpredictable. Harren expected him to run, to hide, to protect the princess and wait for rescue. He did not expect a wounded engineer to attack. Daeho tackled him. They crashed to the ground together. The weapon flew from Harren's grip and clattered across the floor. The 4 guards rushed forward, but the narrow corridor made it hard for them to aim without hitting their leader. Daeho fought with desperation. He was weaker than the Valorian, but he was faster, more determined. He had something worth protecting. "Run!" he shouted at Lian. "Get to your mother! I am not leaving you! Go!" The princess hesitated for one terrible moment. Then she turned and ran, her footsteps fading into the distance. Harren threw Daeho off and scrambled for his weapon. Daeho grabbed his leg and pulled him back down. They struggled on the floor, 2 beings from different worlds fighting for completely different futures. The guards finally managed to get a clear shot. A bolt hit Daeho in the side. He gasped, but did not let go. "Foolish human," Harren snarled. "What do you think you are accomplishing? You cannot win." Daeho smiled through the pain. "I do not need to win. I just need to delay you." At that moment, alarms began to wail throughout the palace. The princess had reached her mother. The queen knew. Harren's face twisted with fury. He raised his weapon to finish Daeho once and for all. But before he could fire, the wall behind him exploded. Queen Saray stepped through the smoke. Her eyes blazed with power Daeho had never seen before. Energy crackled around her fingers. Behind her stood High Commander Bacon and a dozen loyal guards. "Lieutenant Harren," the queen said. Her voice was death itself. "You have made a very grave mistake." The trader's face went white. He tried to speak, to bargain, to explain, but the queen raised her hand, and everything went silent. The last thing Deho saw before he passed out was Heron falling to his knees, surrounded by the guards who had once trusted him, and standing above it all, terrible and beautiful, was Queen Soray. Her eyes met Deho's just before darkness took him. In them, he saw something new, something that had not been there before. Respect, not for an engineer, not for a human, but for a man who had risked everything twice for her family. Then the darkness claimed him, and he knew nothing more. The pain was familiar now. Burns, cuts, bruises. His body had become a map of violence, but he was alive. Somehow, despite everything, he was still alive. "You really need to stop getting hurt." Lian sat beside his bed, just like before, but this time she was smiling. "What happened?" Deho asked. His voice was rough. "Lieutenant Heron and his conspirators have been arrested. My mother extracted every piece of information from them. The network went deeper than anyone imagined. 3 noble houses were involved in the plot to overthrow the throne." Lian shook her head in disbelief. "Without your discovery, they would have attacked during tomorrow's ceremony. Hundreds would have died, including my mother and me." Deho closed his eyes. He had done it. He had actually done it. "You saved us again," Lian said softly. "The entire empire owes you a debt that can never truly be repaid." "I do not want repayment," Deho said. "I just want to go home." Lian was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was thick with emotion. "I know, and this time, I think my mother feels the same way." 3 days later, Deho stood in the throne room for what he hoped was the final time. The chamber was full. Every noble house had sent representatives. Ambassadors from a dozen species watched from the galleries. The air hummed with anticipation. Queen Soray sat on her throne, resplendent in robes of silver and gold. Princess Lian stood at her side. Both of them watched as Deho walked forward. He bowed. "Rise, Kang Deho," the queen said. Her voice carried through the vast chamber. "Guardian of the crown, savior of the princess, protector of the throne." He rose. "6 months ago, I invoked the law of blood debt to keep you here. It was within my rights. You had saved my daughter's life, and I felt that debt could never be repaid." The queen paused. "I was wrong." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "In these months, you have shown qualities I rarely see in any being, regardless of species. Courage without arrogance, loyalty without expectation, love without demand." Queen Soray stood from her throne and descended the steps until she stood before him. "You saved my daughter twice. You uncovered a conspiracy that would have destroyed my family and my empire, and through it all, you asked for nothing but to go home." Deho said nothing. He did not trust his voice. "The law of blood debt is satisfied," the queen declared. "More than satisfied. I formally release you from all obligations to the Valorian crown. You are free to leave." The words hit him like a wave. Free. He was free. "However," the queen continued, "I offer you a choice. You may return to Earth immediately, or you may stay here permanently as a lord of the Valorian Empire. You would have lands, wealth, and power beyond anything humans have ever possessed. You would be family." The crowd held its breath. Deho looked at the queen, then at Princess Lian. Her eyes were wet with tears, but she smiled at him, a sad, understanding smile. "Your Majesty," Deho said slowly, "you have shown me honor and kindness far beyond what I deserve. This palace has become familiar to me. The princess has become—" He paused, searching for the right word. "She has become dear to my heart." Lian closed her eyes. A single tear rolled down her cheek. "But my mother waits for me on Earth. She has cried every night since I left. She does not know if she will ever see me again. I cannot give her wealth or power. I can only give her what she truly wants." Deho's voice cracked. "I need to go home." Queen Sorai nodded slowly. "I expected nothing less. Your mother raised a remarkable son. I would very much like to meet her someday." The audience ended with formal farewells. But afterward, in a private chamber, the real goodbyes happened. Princess Lian stood before Deho. They were alone for the first time since his decision. "I am not going to cry," she said, even as tears streamed down her face. "I promised myself I would not cry." Deho smiled gently. "I will come back. This is not goodbye forever." "How can you be sure?" "Because I have friends here now, family almost." He reached out and took her hand. "You taught me that connection does not need blood or species. It only needs time and trust. We have both." Lian threw her arms around him. She held him tightly, as if she could prevent him from leaving through sheer will. "You will always be welcome here," she whispered. "Always. Until the stars go dark." "And you will always be in my heart," Deho replied. "Until my heart stops beating." They stood like that for a long time. Two friends, two souls, two beings from different worlds who had found something rare and precious in each other. Finally, Lian pulled back. She removed a pendant from around her neck. It was made of the same black crystal as the queen's throne. Ancient, priceless. "This is a royal seal," she said, pressing it into his hand. "With this, you can return to our world whenever you wish. No questions, no barriers, just come." Deho looked at the pendant. It was warm in his hand, almost alive. "Thank you, Lian, for everything. Thank you, Deho, for teaching me what true courage looks like." The next morning, a human vessel arrived to take Deho home. Ambassador Yuna was aboard, smiling wider than he had ever seen. "You actually did it," she said, as he walked up the ramp. "You survived Valorian politics. That makes you more impressive than any diplomat." Deho laughed. It felt good to laugh. From the departure platform, Queen Sorai and Princess Lian watched. The queen raised her hand in a formal salute. Lian simply waved, like any friend saying goodbye. As the ship rose into the sky, Deho pressed his hand against the window. Below, the palace grew smaller. The city became a dot. The planet became a marble. Then it was gone, replaced by the endless stars. But in his hand, the royal pendant was warm, a promise, a connection, a door that would always remain open. 2 weeks later, on a small planet called Earth, an old woman sat in her kitchen. She stared out the window, as she did every night, hoping to see something that never came. Then she heard the door open. "Mother, I am home." She turned, and there he was, her son, older, scarred, changed in ways she could not yet understand, but alive, home, real. She did not remember crossing the room. She only remembered holding him, crying into his shoulder, feeling his arms around her. "I promised I would come back," Deho whispered. His mother could not speak. There were no words for this moment. Above them, the stars burned on. Somewhere out there, a princess looked at the same sky, holding a memory close to her heart. And somewhere between Earth and the Valorian Empire, a bridge had been built. Not of metal or energy, but of something stronger, compassion, courage, and the unbreakable human heart.